You open the door to room 412. The Do Not Disturb sign is gone, so you knock, wait, and let yourself in. And that's when you see it. Not a mess, not dirty towels. Something you were never trained for. Something that makes your stomach drop before your brain even catches up. You're a hotel housekeeper, and today is only Tuesday. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the people who clean your hotel room quit faster than almost anyone else in the service industry, and why some of them say they'll never look at a 5-star hotel the same way again. You get hired for light cleaning. That's the phrase on the job posting. Light cleaning. It sounds almost relaxing, doesn't it? Fresh sheets, a bit of dusting, maybe some vacuuming. That's the picture in your head walking into orientation. What they don't say, you have 16 rooms to finish in an 8-hour shift. That's roughly 28 minutes per room. Strip the bed, remake it with hospital corners, scrub a bathroom that sometimes looks like a crime scene, vacuum, dust, restock, and disinfect every surface a guest might touch. 28 minutes, or you fall behind. And falling behind gets you written up. Fall behind 3 times, and you're gone, replaced by someone else who hasn't learned yet what this job really costs. You push a cart that weighs more than you do. You bend over beds hundreds of times a day. Within the first month, your knees ache, your lower back locks up in the mornings, and you start taking painkillers just to get through a shift. You tell yourself it's temporary. Everyone tells themselves that. But that's not the shock. The shock is what guests leave behind. You open the bathroom door in room 209, and the smell hits you before your eyes adjust. Someone was sick, very sick, and instead of telling the front desk, they just left. No note, no warning. You're the one who has to clean it, alone, with gloves that are 2 sizes too big and a mask that barely covers your nose. You stand there for a second, just breathing through your mouth, wondering how a stranger could do this to another human being and simply walk away. This isn't rare. Housekeepers everywhere will tell you, guests treat hotel rooms like they don't exist once they leave. Vomit, blood, needles tucked under mattresses. You become the last line of defense nobody prepared you for. There's no warning sign on the door. No heads-up call from the front desk. You just open it, and whatever's inside becomes your problem. And it's not only the mess. Sometimes it's what's left behind on purpose. Broken glass shoved into a trash can with no bag liner. Cigarette burns hidden under a pillow so the smoke smell doesn't get noticed until after checkout. Once, you find a drawer glued shut with something dark and sticky. You never find out what it was, and honestly, you stopped wanting to know. Guests walk right past you in the hallway like you're furniture. You say, "Good morning," and most don't even look up from their phones. You learn fast. To hotel guests, you're not a person. You're a function. The bed makes itself, apparently. The towels fold themselves. Nobody thinks about the woman, because it's almost always a woman, who did it while they were at breakfast, sweating through her uniform, racing the clock. Then there's the tipping. You see the sign on the nightstand. Please tip your housekeeper. You check the envelope. Empty. You clean 12 rooms that day. 11 of them, nothing. And management still expects you to smile at checkout like nothing happened. Because the guest experience comes first. Your experience? Nobody's asking. You start to notice a pattern. The fanciest rooms, the ones with the biggest bills, are almost always the emptiest envelopes. The sweet guests who complain the loudest about a missed pillow mint are the same ones who never leave a single dollar. Here's what almost nobody outside the industry knows. Housekeepers are, statistically, one of the groups most likely to face harassment on the job. And it's rarely the other staff. It's guests. You knock. No answer. You enter. And the guest is still there. And they didn't lock the door on purpose. You back out immediately, heart pounding, and report it. But in some hotels, the response is a shrug. Just knock louder next time. No real protection. No real consequences for the guest. You're expected to just deal with it and go clean the next room like nothing happened, because the schedule doesn't pause for what just happened to you. Housekeepers have described this exact scenario in interviews and labor surveys for years. It's one of the biggest reasons turnover in this job is so brutal. Some hotels lose more than half their housekeeping staff within a single year. You start to understand why the same faces don't last. Why the woman who trained you on your first week is already gone by your third month. You do the math on your paycheck. Minimum wage, sometimes a little above it. No health insurance unless you hit full-time hours. Hours the hotel conveniently keeps you just under, week after week, like it's an accident that keeps happening to everyone at once. Then the room quota goes up. Corporate cuts staff to save money, but the number of rooms stays the same. Now it's not 16 rooms, it's 20. Same 8 hours. You're not cleaning anymore, you're sprinting. You start skipping your own lunch break just to keep up. You start bringing your own back brace from home because workers' comp claims take months and management discourages filing them, quietly, in the way that never quite gets written down anywhere. You start noticing your hands, cracked knuckles from the chemicals, a rash that never fully heals because you're never given enough time to let your skin recover between shifts. You mention it once to a supervisor, who hands you a new pair of gloves and tells you to keep moving. And still, somehow, you keep going back the next morning. You clock in, you grab your cart. You knock on the first door of the day, and for a second, before it opens, you brace yourself for whatever's waiting on the other side. So why does anyone keep doing this job? Because for a lot of housekeepers, it's the only work available, especially for immigrants, single mothers, people without formal education credentials, people who were told by every other employer that they weren't qualified for anything better. The job doesn't ask for a resume full of experience. It asks for your body, your silence, and your smile at checkout. And some of them genuinely take pride in it. There's real satisfaction in leaving a room spotless, in the quiet hour before guests arrive when the hallway is empty, and the only sound is the hum of the ice machine. There's a coworker who becomes family after years side by side. The woman 2 carts down who saves you half her lunch on the days you forget yours. The friend who covers your section without being asked when you're limping from a bad knee. It's not all darkness. But the parts that are dark? They rarely make it into the brochure, and they almost never make it into the 5-star review. Next time you stay in a hotel, look at that little tip envelope on the nightstand before you leave. Think about the person who's going to walk into your room in 28 minutes, not knowing what they'll find, hoping, quietly, that today isn't one of the bad days. Because behind every perfectly folded towel, every hospital-cornered sheet, every spotless mirror, there's a person who did it with sore hands and an aching back, and asked for almost nothing in return except to be seen. Maybe that's the real lesson in all of this. Not that hotels are secretly terrible, or that every guest is careless, but that the people who make comfort possible for strangers are so often the ones nobody thinks to be comfortable for. Respect doesn't cost anything. Neither does a thank you, or 5 minutes to strip your own bed before you walk out the door, or $20 in an envelope you almost forgot was there. The next time you slide your keycard into the lock and step into a room that smells like clean linen and nothing else, remember, someone made that happen. And somewhere, right now, they're doing it again, for someone who will probably never know their name.